Hello, everyone. I'm going to go in a bit of a different direction with today's episode. I thought I'd talk about a topic that I frequently get asked to deliver training on, and that topic is emotional intelligence, or what's commonly known as EQ. Emotional intelligence is a phrase that gets tossed around a lot, but many people are curious, what does it really mean? And so let's just start with a definition to make sure that we're all singing from the same song sheet here. Emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and your ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior and relationships. And why do we talk about it? Why does it matter? Why am I talking to you about it today? Because it has a massive impact on your ability to succeed at work and in your personal life. Back in the day, a measure of high performance was to focus on cognitive intelligence, work output, aka results, and most definitely the ability to keep your emotions at home, or at the very minimum, in check at all times. And in the words of Dr. Phil, how's that working out for you? Guess what? Humans are emotional beings at our core, and emotions serve a very important purpose for us. So asking people to turn off their emotions or not access them is unrealistic and ineffective. But that was really what the expectation was, and in some cases still is in organizations. Several decades ago, thanks to the work of Daniel Goleman and others, this concept of emotional intelligence emerged as another indicator of performance and success. Daniel conducted research examining high performers, and when he calculated the ratio of technical skills, IQ, and emotional intelligence proved to be twice as important as the others for jobs at all levels. EQ played an increasingly important role at the highest levels of a company, where differences in technical skills are of negligible importance, meaning as you start to climb the ladder in an organization, your technical abilities matter less and your emotional intelligence abilities matter more. Why is that? Well, if you think about it, successful leadership is about positive influence and impact. You have to do a lot of strategic thinking, influencing through others, making great decisions, and emotional intelligence factors into all of that. Emotional intelligence is so critical to success that research shows it accounts for 58% of performance in all types of jobs. It's the single biggest predictor of performance in the workplace and the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. Here's an interesting fact for you. Research also shows that 90% of high performers have high emotional intelligence, but only 20% of low performers have high emotional intelligence. So definitely a correlation there. And are you ready for a real mind-blowing statistic? People with emotional intelligence make more money, an average of $29,000 more per year than people with low EQ in all industries and all jobs, an average of $29,000 more per year. So do I have your attention now? One more reason to be curious about emotional intelligence is that this is an area where AI has some stiff competition with humans. I know there are people out there who are scared that artificial intelligence and other machine learning tools will put them out of a job. And yes, there are some routine tasks that robots and other types of machine learning and artificial intelligence will be able to do for us. But the skills that are going to be in demand in the future are changing. And guess what's going to be in demand? Emotional intelligence, because that's a little bit harder for computers and the like to figure out. So while this is all great from a work perspective, I can tell you firsthand that having higher emotional intelligence is also going to result in a greater experience of life. You're going to have more positive working and personal relationships. I'm passionate about emotional intelligence because I'm all about helping people unleash and maximize their potential, and this is a huge way that you can do that. Now, you may be listening to this thinking, oh, Laura, this sounds so easy and simple. And that's because you're likely processing this information through the part of your brain that manages executive functioning. This is where all of the rational, logical, objective thinking happens. But guess what? There's another part of your brain that can hijack all other areas of your brain and put you in a highly emotional and reactive state. A state in which you're no longer thinking rationally and objectively. You are just emotionally reacting to a situation. In this case, we lose the ability to step away from ourselves and say, oh my, I'm in a full-on rage right now, and I should really think about what I'm going to do and say next. Nope, we just have an outburst. The more you know about emotional intelligence and the more you practice it, the better you'll be able to recognize when you're in this emotional state and get yourself to a place where you're better able to balance the head and the heart parts of your brain. Okay, let's dive into the components of emotional intelligence. There are tons of books and articles out there on emotional intelligence, and each one has their own spin on it. But I like the model that focuses on 4 main categories within emotional intelligence, and that is self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So the first 2 are all about self-awareness, self-management, and then the other 2 are about others, social awareness and relationship management. Self-awareness is knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, what drives you, what you value, so your core beliefs and values, and then the impact that you have on others. Once you have that self-awareness, self-management is controlling or redirecting disruptive impulses and moods. So a lot of this is about self-regulation. Social awareness is the ability to accurately pick up on emotions in other people and understand what's really going on with them. This one's tricky. And the granddaddy of them all, when we put them all together, we have our final component, which is relationship management, building rapport with others and managing interactions successfully. I'm going to pause here for a moment, and I want you to reflect on these 4 categories: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. I want you to think about which areas are strengths for you and which areas you can improve upon. I'd say for me, self-awareness I'm pretty good with, and social awareness, I'm really fascinated by people and curious about people. So I do observe a lot of nonverbals and pay attention to people. So I'd say probably self-awareness, social awareness, I'm pretty good at. Self-management, a little bit harder sometimes. And then relationship management, I just don't think we'll ever fully get there. That's something we can always work on. In fact, all of these are ones that we can always work on, which is why I really want you to think about where you can improve within those 4. If you find dealing with people to be tough, incredibly burdensome, or draining, think about it from the lens of emotional intelligence. What's holding you back in this area? While some of us are born with natural talents in this space, the good news is that we are not born with a fixed amount of emotional intelligence. Hallelujah. You can grow and develop your emotional intelligence muscles. And there are a lot of books, articles, and training classes devoted to this topic, many of which include an assessment. And I encourage you to take those, but a word of caution, be careful when you take those assessments because you are self-reporting your abilities. And you might have some blind spots that you're not aware of. So I'd advise you, go ahead, take a self-assessment, but then talk with other people who know you well and who can be objective. So knowing you well, but are very biased in a positive way towards you might not be super helpful in this scenario. So talk to someone who knows you well, can give you an objective perspective and seek their feedback, because there might be things that you think you do really well that are not perceived that way by others. So just a quick introduction into emotional intelligence. Many of you probably already know about emotional intelligence because it has been around for a long time. So if that's the case, I hope this is a good refresher for you. But if it's a new concept to you, I definitely encourage you to dive in a little bit deeper and learn more. And my call to action for all of you, regardless of where you are on that spectrum of your knowledge with emotional intelligence, is to pick one of those 4 categories or dimensions of emotional intelligence and come up with one actionable thing that you can do to grow and develop in that area. So for example, if you want to work on self-awareness, again, that's about learning more about your strengths, your weaknesses, your values. You could take a personality assessment to get a better sense of how you're wired. You could do a values inventory. Love that. I always do that with my coaching clients. It's fascinating. Maybe you want to work on self-management. This one, again, this is all about regulation. So being aware of your emotions, but then learning how to be in greater control of them so that you're more objective and able to really, again, be in the driver's seat, be in control of your emotions. Breathing. So easy. It's free. It's not hard. But being able to breathe through an emotional situation instead of just reacting is going to allow you to better balance the head and the heart. I like something that's called box breathing. Essentially, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, you pause for 4 seconds, and then you can start over again. So kind of just picture a box in your mind. Breathing, great for self-management. I always try to encourage my son to breathe when he's angry, and I say, take deep breaths. And he goes, I'm like, no, that is not what I mean when I say deep. Those are angry breaths and quick breaths, slow, deep breaths. But you'd be amazed. There is a ton of science and research about how breathing and being focused on your breath can instantly take down your stress levels and put you in a situation where you can be in better control of your emotions. So that's just one example. Social awareness, perhaps that's something that you want to work on. That's all about reading and understanding other people's emotions. This one's hard because we're not in their head, so we don't know. A lot of times we're trying to look at someone's nonverbals and then react accordingly, and we're assuming. And a couple things on that one. Number one, I would say we need to be aware of our own emotional literacy. There's been research done where most people can only identify 3 emotions: sadness, anger, and happiness. But there are way more than just 3 emotions out there or feelings. And there's a great book that just came out from Dr. Brené Brown called Atlas of the Heart. She even has sessions on HBO Max, I believe, about this same topic about her book, Atlas of the Heart. But she talks about the importance of emotional literacy, being able to identify the emotions that you are feeling. And it's important because if you can't even access or label them in yourself, how can you access and read them in other people and respond accordingly to that? So in her book, Atlas of the Heart, she actually details 87 emotions and experiences with definitions. Super cool book. I highly encourage you to read it. But just building your emotional literacy is a great way to start incorporating social awareness. Improving your listening skills, paying closer attention to people's facial expressions, looking at them. How often is someone talking to you when you're looking at your phone? You're not really hearing them, and you're not able to accurately read their emotions and their nonverbal body language if you aren't even looking at them. So those are some great tips around building social awareness. And then the last one, relationship management. This, I would say, ask for feedback, especially if you're in a leadership capacity. Ask your team, how can I be better for you? How can I be a better leader for you? How can I reduce barriers and blockers for you? Ask other people around you who, again, are people that you trust, but that will be objective with you. How can I improve this relationship? How can I be better for you? If you are open to that feedback, you will be amazed at what you might hear and how you can learn and grow from there. So again, quick little mini training session on emotional intelligence. Hope you have enjoyed it and that it's been helpful for you. And again, pick one topic, one component of emotional intelligence, one actionable step that you want to focus on for the next week, and watch how you can grow and develop in your emotional intelligence skills.